I kind of wanted to talk about how what I'm hearing from Anton online, and it's been a long time, and I'm surprised at the ground that he's covering. There always has been, since he's gotten on online, uh, something, although it seems to breed a lot of insight, and there always seemed to be what appeared to be just huge gaps in his presentation, or something that seemed really unintuitive, and it might have been the ontological pressing as opposed to the philosophical debates that were really occurring before he came on, which seemed to be more based in epistemology. And yeah, so after a long time listening to him, trying to figure out, without purchasing his books, Dreamless Sleep, and whatever his focuses are, but just paying attention to what he is mentioning online. I decided that perhaps I'm going to function. I mean, periodically, a few people have asked me to make videos and kind of give my thoughts on the philosophy that's going on YouTube. And so, anyway, I guess what I wanted to get into a little bit is the idea that at one point Anton had mentioned that he's not a deconstructionist, and other people had pinned that were able to tell that I was a deconstructionist. Oh, by the way, pardon my haircut. It's like 4 in the morning, and I just scrambled out of bed thinking about this. Um, anyway, he's not a deconstructionist, and not a deconstructionist probably for a few reasons. Deconstruction is about monizing binaries. It's about finding a primacy in binaries. And it's nothing that he hasn't covered, but it's kind of like life and death, up and down. Is life a type of death, or is death a type of life? And Derrida would say that life is a very particular type of death. Is up a type of down, or is down a type of up? Well, that one I think would be a lot more difficult to take a binary and make a primary out of it. And so that's just a basic notion of deconstruction that Derrida covered in of grammatology. But the real focus, or what I wanted to mention about Derrida, and is the idea of difference. And now I say difference, even though the whole point of difference is it's a quasi term. It's a misspelling of words, and the point of the misspelling is to take the uh, traditional privileging of speech over sound, and or of sound over text, speech over text, and and put the privilege of difference on the text again. So it subverts the traditional privileging of text over sound, or sound over text once again. The reason this is important is you'll also hear a lot of the way Corey ekes out through things. He's really emphasizing the historical facts, the human historical facts as he understands them, that we come from an oral tradition prior to a written tradition. Um, that oral languages pre-existed textual languages, and this is not necessarily under debate, but um, I guess what I want to get at is the idea that um, there's well, how to say this, the once again the Western canon versus the Occidental canon versus the Oriental canon is a traditional way to look at different modalities in language, and that these both differ from what I'll call kind of a primitivism in language, and this would mean what occurs in other languages, languages that don't have text in them, to say that they also are not predominant forces. They're not within the culture that we exist in. They come from non-English speaking. Now, the Western canon and the history of the Western canon has what we can say is the episteme, or it's the argument from reason, and then you got the ontological, which was kind of split up. The difference between the as Corey had mentioned it before, you have the analog of life, which is the moving physics of living. It's what is in your surroundings. It's how you understand your world, and it's changes that are taking place that are empirical. And then you have the digital realm, and the digital realm includes language, and in language you have the eidetic realm, which he's covered in recent videos. I want to mention from the eidetic realm, kind of like not just mathematics to occur in this realm, but kind of like to say, Jimmy does not hold a unicorn in his bottle. Not a unicorn. Well, a unicorn is something that doesn't exist already. So a not unicorn is something that you could say is functioning as kind of a not eidetic realm, meaning we're going to grant unicorns which don't exist in empiricism, and then we're going to formulate a not statement of something that does not exist, and we're going to base a fact on that, like he was mentioning before. Now, this kind of eidetic realm is happening, and it's not in reference to mathematics at all. And so this brings me back to Derrida and the notion of difference. And difference is a purposeful misspelling, but what he's doing with difference is he's splitting the ontotheological realm, which Corey plays so heavily into. As a matter of fact, his whole notion of hierarchies, his whole authority and prestige, and his claim, his predominance, and how he's moving through YouTube and his work seems to come from an authorial positioning. And of course he's digressed and mentioned that he just, I wish my channel was just named Corey Anton and not Professor Anton, so he had digressed from there. And we all admit, we remember Mr. Cropper coming in and kind of how he posted a video that he thought was a little absurd, like a little too, he didn't want to get into the fight because then he'd hang himself, so he just kind of stepped back. And we can also see how Corey kind of, the way he uses language, I mean, he's analyzing Gary's language, but if we look at Corey, he talks about, his intonations, his tonality is, let me suggest this, or I'm not quite certain, or let me think about this. And notice all the qualifiers that Corey puts in before he starts into something, because he doesn't want to cement it. He's not trying to cement it. He's trying to roll out and make a methodology. Well, maybe I shouldn't say methodology, but he's trying to work